Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Sharon Matthew, and on behalf of our Proactive IT Management team, I just wanted to thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to view the webinar that we have prepared for you. As some of you may know, October is the month of cybersecurity awareness, so our team decided to provide a webinar on information and knowledge pertaining to how to avoid cybersecurity attacks. So one of our teammates, Sean Walsh, he will be presenting on this topic. Thank you so much again for joining us, and we hope that you learned something new that you were not aware of before. Without further ado, Sean will go ahead and start presenting.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Sharon. Today we'll be talking about cybersecurity and different methods you can use to protect your business from different cybersecurity threats. We know setting up a business can be a daunting task. Suddenly you're responsible for people's wages, paying business taxes, and trying to make a profit. The last thing you want is have your business hacked. Being hacked can result in your customers and employee information being stolen, as well as your business losing money. We see businesses forgetting about cybersecurity all the time. They're so focused on making the most for their money that when it comes to technology, they don't take the time to make sure it's safe to use. We understand that many people start a new business on a shoestring budget, and that cybersecurity has a reputation for being expensive and needing an IT department to handle all the extra work it causes. But it doesn't have to be this way, especially if your business is on the smaller side. There's a series of low cost-cutting changes you can make on how you run your business that will help keep your employees, customers, and finances safe online. Making sure that your business is safe against cyber attacks is not a quick process, but it is worth every second when you think about all the alternatives. It's not an activity you can cut corners on, but again, it's more than worth the effort. The earlier you can get your cybersecurity system in place, the easier it will be for your businesses to be safe. On the other hand, it's never too late to get started and make sure you're up on your cybersecurity. So no matter how large or small your business is, we hope you find a lot of useful information in this presentation. According to the FBI, 10,000 small businesses across America are targeted by hackers every single day. This may be because they haven't set up their security properly, or because hackers are trying to use them as a backdoor to get into bigger businesses. Let's look why this can be dangerous for you. As a business, you'll most likely be storing sensitive information about your customers and your employees. Hackers can get a hold of this information and sell it, or use it against their victims. 86% of hacks on small businesses were financially motivated in 2020. The hackers may be looking for banking information of your business or your customers to steal money that way. Or they may be looking to install malware and demand a ransom. They target small businesses with this technique because it's often cheaper for small businesses to pay the ransom than to deal with the consequences of not doing so. If you're only making a small amount of profit, then paying a ransom like this could push your administration into debt. Cyber attacks can take many forms and are constantly evolving, but the best defense is knowing the most common cyber attack forms like malware, viruses, ransomware, and phishing. Malware is an umbrella term for malicious software that aims to damage your computer, server, network, or client. Viruses and ransomware are also considered a type of malware. Viruses mean to infect your computer as well as other devices, leaving your system vulnerable. Ransomware, which has been on the rise, works a lot like a virus, but is usually delivered through a phishing email and essentially holds your system hostage until the sum is paid. Phishing is a type of scam that tricks people into clicking links that appear legitimate but are actually malicious. Clicking links infects your device with malware. Once the system is infected, cyber criminals can attempt to steal sensitive information. Phishing falls under a wider category of social engineering, a tactic meant to deceive individuals into disclosing sensitive information or clicking a malicious link. 90% of malware attacks come from phishing attempts, and 47% of security breaches occur because of employee negligence. One of the best things you can do to avoid being hacked is to make sure that all your employees are IT literate. Let's start by talking about the dangers of phishing. First, make sure that they are aware of little details, like the fact that it is possible to change the destination of a hyperlink without changing its appearance. For example, this link looks like it should lead you straight to google.com. However, if you were to click on it, it would take you to a picture of a cute dog. You can avoid nastier versions of this trick by hovering over the link. This will show you the real destination of the link. You should also talk to your staff members about not opening emails from addresses they don't recognize, and to be aware of suspicious messages or links that are sent from within the company. Some scammers will also try to get your passwords and other important pieces of information over the phone. Remind your employees that banks, electric companies, and other third-party services that you use should never ask for personal information or the company's bank details. Establish basic security practices and policies for employees, such as requiring strong passwords, and establish appropriate internet use guidelines that detail penalties for violating company cybersecurity policies. Establish rules of behavior describing how to handle and protect customer information and other vital data. Protect your information, your computers, and your network from cyber attacks. Keep clean machines. Having the latest security software, web browser, and operating system are the best defense against virus, malware, and other online threats. You should set your antivirus software to run after each update and install other key software updates as soon as they are available. We know this sounds incredibly simple, but you'd be surprised how many people don't update their computers regularly because they think it's a waste of time. They keep pushing the Remind Me Later button until they have a queue of a dozen or so updates that need to be downloaded. So why is it important to keep the software on your computer up to date? Well, there are many devices that won't run unless they're completely updated. This is a trick that companies use to make sure people update regularly. It's also worth noting that the majority of updates that Windows and iOS ask us to install are actually patches to the security system. When the teams in those companies notice a flaw in their work or become aware of a new security threat, they create an update that will solve the problem. Not updating the software leaves you vulnerable to these issues. Provide firewall security for your internet connection. A firewall is a set of related programs that prevent outsiders from accessing your private network. Ideally, a company would want a hardware firewall. We know these can get expensive, but in our experience, people that have implemented the SonicWall firewall that we recommend have noticed a significant improvement in their security. If an employee works from home, also ensure that their home systems are also protected by a firewall and to not use the default password. Use a VPN. VPNs are virtual private networks. They're a great tool for small businesses that cannot afford their own internal network or for team members that work from home. They're especially important for employees who work from home because their cybersecurity at home tends to be weaker than any of your office buildings. An employee trying to access sensitive or important information from a larger network can create a weakness in the security for the whole company. Create a mobile device action plan. Mobile devices can create a significant security and management challenge, especially if they hold confidential information or can access the corporate network. While some high-end phones come with end-to-end encryption and malware protection, not all phones do, and a lot of people do not realize this. You can protect people's work phones by making sure that they only download company-approved apps, that they use complex PIN codes, and that they do not save passwords to their phones. Also, be sure to set up reporting procedures for lost and stolen equipment. Make backup copies of important business data and information. One of the things that makes ransomware so effective is a lot of small businesses do not back up their data regularly enough. Most ransomware attacks involve locking you out of your computer, phone, or device and refusing to let you back in unless you hand over a considerable amount of money. If you haven't backed up your data, then paying the ransom is the only chance you'll have to get your data back. Some hackers may give you access to your data again. However, it's not unknown for hackers to leave the device locked after they've gotten their money. If you back up your data online, on the cloud, or physically in a separate location, then you'll be able to wipe your computer and remove the ransomware and download all your data again. This will save you from having to pay any money to hackers. You will also be more likely to get your business up and running again much more quickly this way. When you're backing up your data, it's important that you don't just back it up on your computer either. You need to either back it up online or to an external device that is not connected to your network. So how frequently should you back up your computer, and how should you make sure it's done regularly? Depending on what kind of business you run and how busy it is, you may need your staff members to back up at least once per day. Although many businesses may be able to get away with a once a week backup and situationally after any important work has been done. Control physical access to your computers and create user accounts for each employee. Prevent access or use of business computers by unauthorized individuals. Laptops can be particularly easy targets for theft or can be lost, so lock them up when they're unattended. Make sure a separate user account is created for each employee and require strong passwords. Administrative privilege should only be given to trusted IT staff and key personnel. If you have a Wi-Fi network in your workplace, make sure it's secure, encrypted, and hidden. To hide your Wi-Fi network, set up your wireless access point or router so it does not broadcast the network name, known as the Service Set Identifier, or SSID. Make sure to password protect your router. Limit employee access to data and limit authority to install software. Do not provide any one employee with access to all the data systems. Employees should only be given access to the specific data systems that they require to do their jobs and should not be able to install any software without permission. And finally, passwords and authentication. Require your employees to use unique passwords and change them every 3 months. You should consider implementing multi-factor authentication that requires additional information beyond the password to gain entry. So what is multi-factor authentication and how can it help you protect your important accounts? Multi-factor authentication is a login process where after entering a password, a second one-time passcode is sent to another device allowing access. It may be sent via email or text message. For example, if you are trying to log on to your work email account, you would have to enter your password and then you would receive a text on your work phone with a 6-digit one-time passcode. You would enter this code to be allowed into the account. Multi-factor authentication is really useful as it prevents remote access to your accounts. The hackers must be able to access your password and your text to get into the account. It is important that you choose an appropriate email account or device as your second layer of authentication. It cannot have the same access code as the account you're trying to access and should ideally be on something only you have access to. This is why phones make such a great option for two-factor authentication. It's a lot harder to hack a phone than it is to hack a second email account. Protecting your business from cyber attacks and threats is one of the most important things you can do as a business owner. It's your responsibility to keep your business and staff members safe. This might seem like an overwhelming task, but there are some simple things you can do to drastically reduce the chances of your cybersecurity being breached. Making the 10 simple changes we have talked about today will help keep your company safe from cyber threats. Thank you once again for joining us for this cybersecurity webinar. I hope you found a lot of useful information in the presentation. I wanted to address a question that was posed in the live webinar about whether the client would know if their network is already secure or not. I wanted to assure anyone who's watching this video that if you're working with Proactive IT and we've already done an assessment on your system and we're working with you currently, we would have found any security holes in your network, and that would be the first thing we would fill is those security holes. If anyone has any questions or comments regarding this, please feel free to contact us at Proactive IT. You can send an email to support@proactiveit.ca or directly to any of the team members that you may have emails for. Thank you once again for joining us and have a wonderful rest of your day.